Hey, YouTube, what's going on? This is Trbailey. So I'm coming at you guys with what I would like to see on this fan list coming up here in September. Now, I don't want to say this is a prediction, although it really would be nice to see it happen the way I want it to, but, Konami does what Konami does. Now, so I just want to get into this list of cards that I have here that I want to see, hit the semi-limited list, or get limited, or come off the list, or I just, let's just get into it, like I said. So, the first thing I want to point out is this here is what I want to get banned. So, let's just start there. So, the far right, Heavy Storm, card's too insane. I mean, it creates OTKs, and if they don't OTK, then they still kind of won that fight because they heavy and blew up all your cards for free, and it took zero skill to do that with brains. And I'm just tired of seeing bad players win because of heavy. I mean, during the September 2012 format, for example, I played windups, and I never lost a mirror match except when my opponent Heavy Magician sharked me. There's nothing you can do about that. And with cards like Water in existence or Dragons, why the heck should we be dealing with Heavy Storm at this point? We have 3 MSTs, 3 Forbidden Lance, 3 Roll Decree, 3 Trapstone, Dark Vibe, etc., etc. We can go on and on and on and on about all we have. I think it's time for Heavy to bite the dust and bite the dust for good. It just gives too much advantage to players. I think Super Rejuvenation should just get banned. I mean, banned at 1, I wouldn't be mad with either one. I just think it should be banned because it allows players to go off and not give a crap. You should never in Yu-Gi-Oh! Just say, I'll go for it, and then, oh, you have the answer, that's fine, I'll just draw 5 cards. No, I don't appreciate that in this game. Monster Reborn, this is a yearly thing. It's 2 times a year we say this. Heavy Storm should get banned. Konami doesn't listen. They're gonna keep Heavy Storm, Reborn forever. Reborn should be banned. It's not even a fair card. This card is the most broken card they ever created in this game, so obviously this card should be banned. This card says I activate spell cards and then add spell cards, and then I special summon a monster. Why is this card in existence? What year is this? Is this Konami back in IOC formats? Let's get real, guys. This card doesn't have any place in Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's just dispose of this card. I'd hope they do that. Otherwise, the only thing they can really do is limit it and semi-limit Spellbook of Secrets. But I feel like that's unfair to Spellbook, so I just really would like to see this card get banned, and let's just move forward with the meta. Card Destruction, I think it's tutored in too many decks at this point. I think it's pretty unfair how players can just use this at whim, and they can just tech this on a card. This card shouldn't be a tech choice. This card changes games for no reason. It changes the flow and outcome of games where one person is just better than the other person and was winning, but Card Destruction beat them. It's not something you can play around. You can't even play around Card Destruction. Why should this card exist? It's not even a fair thing. It also punishes players for dropping max C. Are you kidding me? It punishes players for slowing the game down? It's gotta go. It has to. We can't keep playing this game you can't keep doing it like this. It's just not cool. Neither is Morphing Jar, and that's something that I'm not even going to bother putting on there. It should be obvious that the card should be banned. Oh my gosh. More obvious than all 5 of these cards except for Judgment Day. The reason why I say Morphing Jar should just obviously be banned is because why would you have a card that activates during the damage step, because when you attack it, it flips face up, that changes the outcome of the game, but all it did was say that the person that drew it, it's a card like Trap Death Shoot. It just changes the game, so it's either really unfair for one person, or it's really unfair for the other. It's not a skill-based card, it just ruins outcomes of games. So cards like Card Destruction and Morphing Jar, they have no business in the game, and certainly neither does Spellbook of Judgment Day. My limited list. I have Rekindling to 1. Now, the reason why I have Rekindling to 1 is I think people are forgetting that Lobbles is very, very good. I think if Dragons gets hit, I think that Quasar could pose a serious threat to the format. I mean, this card at 1, isn't enough. And that's what I'm predicting. This card to 1, I think Sheehan should go to 2. I'm not predicting, I'm sorry. This is what I would like to see. I think this card needs to go to 2 because it just doesn't matter. But anyway, back to the rekindling is that what was holding Lavos from being a deck is that Chalice Quasar was just too easy to pull off, and that's not fair. So with the Dragon Rulers, these are the monsters that I think should get hit. The best 2 babies. Now, why is Lightning and Stream not in here? Because they're not as good as these 2. And that's just the bottom line to it. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to limiting the other ones. I just think these 2 are enough to limit. Ban Rejuvenation, and I think that we can call it a day. Dragoons. Now, in OCG, they didn't get much of a splash from the water deck. Haha. But this Dragoons just creates too many unfair plays. You can search for your whole deck, and all you have to do is, send it to the graveyard to search for a sphere, and then it searches for something else. So it's literally the nuts, and that card should definitely go to 1, if not at least 2. But I'd really like to see it go to 1 just because, it's just too sacky. Vanity's Emptiness. Now, this card, why people are probably like, what is he talking about? Now, Royal Oppression Logia is too broken, so I mean, Vanity's Emptiness plus Logia, too unfair. Vanity's Emptiness and Dragons, not fair for your opponent to just flip up Vanity's Emptiness and say, hey, I already summoned my dudes, and then extend their hand. So I think Vanity's Emptiness is a card that I don't think should ever be multiple copies in someone's deck. I just think that's too unbalanced. I feel like Vanity's Emptiness should definitely be a 1-of, which would be kind of interesting because it means that almost every deck that plays back row would play 1, so it would actually change the format significantly. Giant Trunade. It's not that I want to see this card go to 1, it's just that I'm not sure I want to see my opponent have no fear of cards. And if I'm going to have ban heavy, I think that we should have something in its place. I would say Cold Wave, but I just feel like Cold Wave plus Shockmaster is just tutoring, and we can't really afford that in the game. So I want a way to make it to where people actually lose to hand traps if they have the heavier Trinade. So people are going to say, but Trinade's better than heavy, but it's like if they had heavy, they were probably winning anyway. I mean, you have pretty much the same real outs, which is Solemn Judgment. And people say, well, Heavy Storm, you can solve it with Starlight Road, but it's like, why would you want to play bad cards in your deck? So I mean, to me, I'd just rather have Trunade. Oh my gosh, heaven forbid you have to outplay your opponent because they have 3 back row, oh man, that's so bad for Yu-Gi-Oh! But I mean, I honestly don't see there being an issue without either. But I think I'd rather see Trunade at this point than Heavy Storm. Maybe it's just the salt factor of losing to Heavy so much, but I just don't think Heavy's fair, and I don't think it really creates anything for the game. Although bluffing is a lot bit easier with Heavy in the game. But once again, neither is fair, but I'd just rather take the card that says if my opponent doesn't win this turn that they lose instead. So I'd rather go with the Trunade. Now, Book of Moon. So Book of Moon is a card that I think I've been waiting a long time to go to 2. It's been about 4 or 5 formats now, and there's no reason for it to be at 1. This card's versatile, it's very good, and you're able to really change the outcome of the game if played correctly. I think this card's very good in a skill player hands and very bad in a bad player's hand, and that's why I think it's time for it to elevate itself back to 2. I don't think it should ever go to 3 because that's just format destroying, but I think 2 is a solid number. I think it's fair, and that's what I want to see. And I'm a little biased, but I want my Wind-Up Magicians back to 2 apiece. I like toolbox decks. I'm excited for the new Fire Fist deck that's coming out. It's a toolbox deck. It's fun. It's fast, and I don't think Tenki should get hit. By the way, I think that this will be enough for that deck because, to be honest, I don't think Tenki's broken by any shape of the imagination. Because the targets aren't that good, except now with Wolfberg is the only good target with that. So, I mean, to me, I'm happy with Tenki at 3. There's outs to it. So, I think it's time for this card to go to 3. Disney Era Malicious. So, This card has been sitting on the semi-limited list for, goodness, 4 years now? Guys, it's time to get rid of this card off that list. It's not relevant enough in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. It's not a good enough card for me to say this card should still be on the list. Times have changed. Teledad's no longer tier 0. That's just the reality of the situation, whether you like it or not. Teledad is not tier 0. A lot of decks are better than Teledad. But I mean, this one gives us toolbox plays into like Photon Strike Bowser, for example. Or it gives us a short play into a level 8 synchro play like Crimson Blader. So, I mean, they're giving you plays into cards that help the format, not cards that destroy the format. Also, it allows you to play stuff like Agents again, which Agents is a deck that everyone loves to play. So, you can play Agents with Destiny Heroes, and it can be Chaos Agents because you can just use Destiny Draw and things like that. So, that's just an idea. Now, I'm sorry about this a little bit. I'm a little bit tired. It's kind of late night for me right now. You know, like 1 a.m. See, I told you I'm tired. So, but anyway, this is what I would like to see. It certainly isn't a prediction, and I talk about it way more whenever we see the actual list, and I'll say why I like it, why I don't like it, whatever. But this is what I would like to see personally. I could definitely, like I said, I could do without that. I mean, I don't think I would be totally devastated if Heavy stayed, and I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Reborn stayed. Another card that I think that I wanted to talk about a little bit was So Scarecrow, because I think So Scarecrow is actually a very unfair card that doesn't allow interaction, and I think that card should also get limited. But, you know, it is what it is at this point, so... Alright, Yu-Gi-Ohs, Yu-Gi-Tube, YouTube, whatever. You know, feel free to go ahead and like and subscribe. You can send me a message if you have any questions. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want me to do. That would be really helpful. Anyway, that's Trbailey signing out. Good night.